She smiled at him, thinking tonight would be the start of something beautiful, never imagining it would be the last time she'd ever feel safe. On a cold December evening in 2018, 22-year-old Grace, full of excitement after finishing a long backpacking journey and eager to celebrate her birthday with someone new, matched with Jesse on Tinder, a man whose polished profile and easy charm masked a darkness she could never have guessed. And when they met at a crowded city bar where laughter and light filled the room, neither Grace's friends nor the strangers around them had any sense that this ordinary first date was a trap laid by a predator who planned to turn her night of hope into a nightmare of violence. For over an hour they drank together, toasting to the possibilities of new connection and the warmth of shared stories, until they eventually moved on to a Mexican restaurant and later to another bar, where, as the clock neared 9 p.m., the first kiss was shared, a moment Grace later described in a final text to a friend as going amazingly well. But that embrace, instead of the promise of a future, was the calm before a storm no one could have foreseen. Because shortly after that moment, in the privacy of Jesse's hotel room, the date twisted into horror, and Jesse, whose mind was already far from ordinary, strangled Grace to death with a brutality that transformed her hopeful smile into an unresponsive stillness. The next morning, unaware of what had truly happened, Grace's phone began buzzing with birthday messages that went unanswered, and the first shower of alarm washed over her loved ones when hours passed with no sign of her vibrant presence, no cheerful replies, no check-ins from the daughter, sister, and friend who had always stayed connected, prompting her family to report her missing and triggering a frantic search that spread fear and confusion through social networks and police lines alike. Even as Jesse moved casually through his day as if nothing had occurred and bought a massive suitcase and cleaning supplies, his purchases captured on surveillance cameras. Preparations for a grotesque act of concealment rather than remorse, for the suitcase wasn't meant for clothes, but for Grace's body, and the cleaning products were tools to erase every trace of a life he had snuffed out. Investigators tracking credit card records and CCTV footage later pieced together his morbid itinerary, his decisive inspection of suitcase dimensions, his return home cradling the ominous luggage, his casual behavior around town, and the sickening normality with which he carried out actions that should never be associated with a human being. And all the while, Grace's body lay hidden away, a tragic casualty of misplaced trust as time ticked on and the community around her grappled with the pain of uncertainty. Meanwhile, Jesse didn't stop at one act of depravity. Unhinged by his own impulses, he arranged yet another date through the same app, showing up to meet a new woman with the same clothes he had worn the night before, as though he believed himself untouchable and the killing yet undone, speaking to her about bizarre things like hiding a body from the police, a conversation that sent her instincts screaming that something was deeply wrong, and ended the encounter without tragedy, only because fate and instinct intervened just in time. In the chaos of this unfolding horror, police pieced together the clues that led them to Grace's last known movements, following her steps through surveillance footage, matching the time-stamped evidence of Jesse's purchases, his use of credit cards, and the unsettlingly calm way he returned to normal life while the world around him had plunged into alarm. And when they finally arrived at the hotel where he was staying, his attempt to disappear was thwarted by their vigilance, arresting him before he could escape the inevitable. In interrogation rooms thick with tension, Jesse spun stories, denied the obvious, and tried to paint a picture that distanced himself from the murder, claiming confusion, shock, or a fog of misguided reasons. But the weight of physical evidence, blood traces in the apartment, matching cell phone locations tying him to Grace's last known presence, credit card receipts for the suitcase and cleaners, and witness testimonies about his suspicious behavior pinned him down like the very fingerprints he thought he could wash away. Investigators, tracking every moment of that fateful night and the chilling detail of his itinerary, pushed him again and again until the walls of his lies collapsed, leading to a confession that was as disturbing as his actions. He recalled mundane details of their first meetup before twisting into disjointed claims about fantasies and fear, a psychological spiral that only highlighted the depth of his detachment from reality, rendering a narrative that would soon shock courtrooms, media outlets, and families who watched the tragedy unfold on social feeds and news channels. Grace's family, heartbroken and tormented by unanswered questions, stood strong through the investigation, their pleas for information and updates echoing in the press, while investigators worked tirelessly to ensure that justice didn't slip through the cracks of technology or manipulation, determined to show that even the most ordinary app connection could harbor unimaginable danger, and that love mismatched with truth could end in the worst possible way. The courtroom that eventually convened to judge Jesse brimmed with sorrow, disbelief, and a community's collective demand for accountability, as prosecutors laid out the chilling timeline, the deliberate purchase of tools for concealment, and the deliberate actions taken to cover up the crime, proving not only that Grace's death was a murder, but that Jesse had planned how to obliterate every trace of her existence, an intent that the gruesome evidence could not hide. And when the gavel finally fell and the verdict was delivered, the weight of the truth hit like a physical blow, that a night of promise had turned into a lifetime of loss for Grace's loved ones, that a man's darkness took a bright life too soon, and that even the most seemingly ordinary encounters in the digital age can hold hidden nightmares beneath their glossy facades, leaving behind a chilling reminder that sometimes the person you choose to trust could be the one with the deadliest secrets.